There is a scene in the show Mad Men that I would genuinely call one of the most perfect scenes ever written. And it's not because of the dialogue, although that is great, and it's not because it's a massive reveal or a shocking twist. If you're watching Mad Men for action-packed twists, you're watching the wrong show. Instead, it's perfect due to its ability to convey an emotion that most shows and films have failed to convey constantly over the last few years. That scene is the carousel, and this is why nostalgia is killing art. If you're new to this channel, firstly, hello, welcome, grab a cup of tea and make yourself at home. You should know that I am a writer. It is part of my job, and although I have worked mainly on plays the last few years, I would love to one day get into the sparkly world of television. So as a young writer, I am really interested in new, up-and-coming talent. Fresh ideas and excitement to break the rules is the breaking heart of art and storytelling. It's what keeps audiences interested and keeps artists from going insane. So you can imagine I have found the last few years quite painful to watch, with many TV shows and films giving me the angry eye twitches as I drown my sorrows in a bucket of orange squash, or cider. It's usually cider. Because new isn't currently on the menu. Instead, what big franchises and studios seem to crave the most at the moment is a pat on the back for their old work that people once liked. And I'm not talking about remakes or sequels. In Hollywood terms, a remake or sequel is known as the money-making wet dream. I have my issues with the constant desire to recreate something that already worked, but recently there's been a worse offender than just the obvious cash grab. And this is nostalgia. Nostalgia can be a very powerful storytelling technique if used right. I've said for a long time that there's something magical about your old childhood favourite film. Even as we grow up and become obsessed with IKEA non-stick pans, an old childhood classic can transport us immediately back into those simpler times. I've said it before, but I think that feeling of old remembered comfort that sweeps over us as an old Disney film begins to play is the closest we'll ever get to time travel. And if you can capture that feeling in a film, it can be magical, but that's very hard to do. However, one way that is definitely not going to achieve this feeling is just shoving a face on screen, or a name, or a face in a name. Just stop doing it. Stop doing it. The trope, which I like to call, hey, I know him, has been popping up everywhere recently, and it boils my blood. Bringing back old characters or actors is fine. That's not exactly the issue. It's just how it's used so basically at the moment, so obviously without any creative merit, that just angers me. Any character in anything ever needs to have a purpose. They need to be in the film or show for a very good reason. That could be because they're the emotional weight of the movie, they could be the main character's partner or family, and through their troubled relationship we get to see how the main character's goal is affecting the ones they love. It could be that they're the villain, the obstacle for the main character, or they could be the comic relief. Whatever it is, the audience needs to connect with them in the film or show they're currently watching. They need to live and exist in the moment. However, recently, bunging an old face into the plot seems to be it. Audiences are expected to care and connect with these characters simply because they once did many years ago. And that's not storytelling, that's advertising, and it's everywhere. DC fell into this trick, the MCU has been doing it constantly. I've already spoken at length on this channel about Doctor Who's love affair with the past. Characters, faces, names, old actors popping up all over the place with little reason other than to make the audience gasp in shock for 2 seconds before questioning why they actually cared that much. If we take this scene from No Way Home, I know people will disagree with me on this, but just hear me out. This scene is designed solely for the audience's nostalgia. Everything about it is aimed towards getting an audience to shriek or shout in the cinema. Because look how awkward this moment is. Characters are just standing, barely reacting, because it's expected that the audience will react for them. There's no real agency in this scene, no emotional weight other than the actors coming back. There's no stakes, no payoff, just nostalgia, forced into a moment that's aiming to go viral. And the moment did go viral, so they achieved their goal. But what about now? Nearly 4 years later, once the hype has died and now they need to desperately scramble for the next viral video, what happens to this scene? The magic of the reveal can only happen once. Once you know it's coming, it just turns into a normal scene. So the scene needs to hold up on its own. However, this is just a moment with little feeling, because the reveal was treated like the story, which is backwards. This scene should still affect an audience 5, 10, 20 years later if it's done well. Not because of a callback or a cameo, but because it should be crammed with emotion, with stakes and pathos or anything. It's why people still cry at the same film they've seen 100 times, because the emotion is there. Even when they know what's coming, even if they can speak the lines themselves, the scene has purpose in the story, the emotional journey of the plot and the characters. Time shouldn't affect the watchability of a film. If anything, it should and can add to it. The same can be said for the latest series of Doctor Who. The Rani isn't a scene, it's just a reveal. I mean, it's literally stuffed into the credits. Its main purpose is to gain attraction, not convey emotion. If we take a very similar reveal in Series 3, the difference is astounding. The Yana reveal is cemented in character and emotional payoffs. The Doctor's not alone like we've been told for the last 3 years. That should be a good thing. But then why is he so angry? So scared, so aggressive almost? The ending is so full of intrigue, threat, stakes, tension. It plays with pacing, allowing the audience to follow along, catch their breath and wonder what's going to happen next. It's not just a reveal, it's the next chapter of an ongoing story. The Rani moment is just a reveal. The name alone is meant to carry the weight of the scene. So if you don't know who the Rani is, or if you just don't care that much, this scene will leave you completely cold, because it isn't telling a story, it's just reminding you of one it assumes you already watched. And that's one of the biggest issues with this form of nostalgia storytelling. It assumes you already care, so usually doesn't bother to make you care again. Sorry, that's really made me laugh, calling Mickey Mouse a wretched little rodent. I stand by it, he is. Look at the freak. Dead behind the eyes. We can't talk about bad nostalgia without mentioning the king of this technique, Disney. Now there's been a lot of discussion already about how creatively bankrupt Disney has become, making bad live action movies from good animated movies, so I'll try not to bang on about that too much because it's all been said before. What I do want to talk about though isn't the things they keep, but how they keep changing or getting rid of the wrong things, proving even further how stupid this trend has become. Now I'm gonna say it. I love a sing-song. Cabaret is my favourite stage musical. I'm not too fond of the film. Oliver is one of my favourite movies of all time. I love a good old sing-song, and I hope that never changes. And a lot of people like musicals. People love musicals so much that they return to watch them on stage over and over again, if they can afford it, the lucky bastard. They'll go and watch Mamma Mia on stage when they have ABBA greatest hits at home. They're big sellers, and if you get a good one, you're guaranteed to sell tickets. And in the same way people go to gigs wanting to hear the hits, musicals are the same. They want to hear their favourite song, even more so when it's from one of their childhood classic films. But due to Disney realising that these remakes are pretty pointless, they try and trick you into thinking they've got a new idea or direction to take the story, meaning things get cut or changed, including some of the most beloved songs and music. I don't understand why they keep doing it. You can add new songs, that's fine, but Snow White, for example, is a classic. People know it. They want to hear Someday My Prince Will Come. We want to hear Be Prepared from The Lion King sung, not performed like it's at some spoken word poetry event. And this is when you get the pitfalls of this nostalgia-reliant storytelling. You're just reminding people of the better film they can watch at home. Change too much, people get annoyed. Change nothing, and it's pointless. So just don't bother. Make the new thing. Give the new generation their equivalent of The Lion King or their equivalent of Little Mermaid. You don't need to remake it. Just realise what made them so successful in the first place, extract that magic, and add it to your next project. And it's partly why I struggle with people talking so much about the box office nowadays. Newer films won't make money, blah blah blah. Well, Wizard of Oz didn't make a profit until 10 years later. That's art. Sometimes you need to take a risk. Sometimes you need to be brave enough to attempt to make a classic. So what is it about that Mad Men scene I love so much? It looks incredibly simple. It's just a scene of an advertising pitch. No clever camera tricks, no dramatic performance. Its beauty is in its simplicity. But actually, as a piece of work, it's incredibly complicated. Because this scene is all about nostalgia. Its whole aim is to make the audience feel nostalgic. In the show, that's actually how they make the sale, because they convey that emotion. However, this is season 1. There's no cameo you can pull yet. Instead, the writing has to be so rich, so full of emotion, that feeling of nostalgia oozes off the screen. It's grounded in the character of Don Draper. As he watches the pictures of his family go by, he longs to be there again. And yet, like the scene tells us, he can't. Things change, things move on. You grow and you hurt people in the process. You leave people behind and you get left. It's life. It's messy and beautiful and heartbreaking, and sometimes it can be captured in a single photograph. When you bring characters back or do massive reveals, it means they never end. It means they can just continue to exist, can be brought back at the drop of a hat and continue like nothing ever happened. But nostalgia lives and breathes in the past. Those fleeting moments you wished you hung on to. The drama, the story, it comes from that longing. We watch our old childhood films to remember, but once the credits roll, you're back to reality, with taxes and a full-time job. I almost think nostalgia should be treated like a wish that can never and should never be granted, because once it is, the magic is lost.